Hello everybody and welcome back to another Sai Knows the Score video where today we have the Champions League back in action, game week 1, and yeah, here we go. Just a quick shout out to everybody that's so far subscribed, commented and liked the video. Again, if you could please subscribe and like and put your predictions down below. I do read them and I do try to respond to all of them, so I will definitely be looking out for those. And yeah, let's get right into it, where the first clash is a fairly decent clash, you would say, between Atletico Bilbao, or Athletic Club, versus Arsenal. So yes, Arsenal travelling to Spain for this fixture, and they have met quite recently in friendly matches where Arsenal did have the better. I believe it was something like 3-0 or 4-1. I know it was fairly comfortable, but again, it was a friendly match. It was a couple of months ago. Can't really look at that now, can you? Athletic themselves, decent start in the Liga, three wins and 1 loss. They probably will be disappointed to lose to Alaves. On the flip side, Arsenal finding their rhythm. Of course, had their only defeat at Anfield against Liverpool, where it did take a world-class free kick to divide the two teams there. It did have 0-0 written all over it, bar an exceptional free kick from Szoboszlai. So yeah, I think with this one here, I don't think it will be overly comfortable for Arsenal. I do think they'll get over the line. Set piece as well, probably score a set piece and 1 from open play. They've got good squad depth now, haven't they? Maduke's in fine form right now. I think they will get over the line here with a 2-0 victory. I don't think that second goal will come until probably later on in the match, so hence why I think it will be a little bit difficult until the latter stages where that squad depth may kick in for them. 2-0. Which brings us on to PSV versus USG, or also known as Union Saint-Gilloise. I think that's how you pronounce it. PSV were champions last season. They've scored 17 goals in 5 games, with 1 shock defeat to Telstar, to be fair. So that hasn't put them top of the table now due to that result. Now, USG are third in the Belgian, did finish third in the Belgian league last season, and the quality of leagues, I would say, are fairly similar in my opinion. PSV are at home, so they scored lots of goals, and I envision that trend to continue. Although USG have scored 15 in 7, which is pretty good themselves, so I do think they will get on the score sheet. I'm going to go 3-1. Maybe both teams to score here would be good to maybe look at if you're going to look at dabbling on a little bet. Benfica versus Qarabag. Now, Benfica were runners-up last season. Don't seem to be scoring as many goals at the moment. They scored 74, which, okay, yes, it's nothing to be snubbed at. But it's just not on the same level as what they were doing last season, where they're averaging 2.47 goals per game. For Qarabag, it's been a tough start to the Azerbaijan league for them, where they've won the league 4 times in a row. However, they find themselves in 7th after the first 3 or 4 games, so it's been a bit of a tough start for them in the league. I think with this being at Benfica, I expect a comfortable night, but not an overly high scoring night. So I'm going to go a nice, comfortable 2-0 victory for Benfica. Juventus versus Dortmund, where while Juventus had a bit of a wild match, didn't they, against Inter Milan the other day, where they got over with a 4-3 victory. Look, when you actually look at the game, there weren't actually that many chances, but they were definitely clinical in front of goal. Even both teams were. I think the expected goals, from what I remember for both teams, was less than 2, and yet you had 7 goals. So it just goes to show how clinical the forward lines were for both teams there. Right now, Juventus do find themselves in top spot with Napoli. So, with Dortmund, for me, I always think they do somewhat okay in the Champions League. And of course, when you've got Girassi there, for me, I believe they'll get a goal or maybe even 2 here. Juventus are definitely not are quite susceptible at the back. So I do think Dortmund will get a goal or 2 here. I think I'm going to split this down the middle. I'm going to go 2-2. Nice draw. 2-2, but a nice open game. And yeah, so then we move on to Madrid versus Marseille, where Madrid will always be one of the favourites to win the Champions League. Not winning comfortable so far. We've only got 1 game by a higher margin of 1. Alonso's just trying to find his feet there, isn't he, at Real Madrid, trying to get the players to understand and adapt to his system. De Zerbi, as we know from past times, you can get quite a basketball-esque type of game. So I do think there'll be goals, and maybe more goals here. I'm going to go quite bold here. I think the Mason Greenwood and Wales link-up's been looking quite good recently. So for me, I'm going to go a Madrid victory, but it won't be comfortable. And don't be surprised if there is an upset. In this instance, though, I'm going to go Real Madrid 3, Marseille 2. Which then brings us to our next game of Spurs versus Villarreal, where Spurs have done okay under Frank so far. They did get dominated at the Tottenham Hotspur by Bournemouth. It was only 1-0, but as we know, it could have been a lot more. Did get a nice victory away at West Ham. The red card for Souček definitely did help, didn't it? Frank's going to be looking at this thinking that's his first Champions League game. He's going to be up for it. Spurs back in the Champions League after winning the Europa League last season. The atmosphere, you'd imagine, will be very good. Villarreal, on the other hand, just lost to Atletico. But maybe you could see an upset if we get a prime Pepe. But maybe PTSD from his time in the Prem might just affect him here. Either way, I don't think it'll be a comfortable game overall for Spurs, but I do think they'll get over the line, getting Thomas Frank his first victory there with a Spurs 2-1 victory. Olympiacos versus Pathos. Now, Olympiacos won the league again after not winning it for a whole 2 years. Wow. And, a strong 3-0 start. Pathos, surprisingly, won the league, beating the likes of AEK Athens, Apoel, and the most recent title contenders in Aris. So yeah, look, I'm not going to dwell on this game for too long here. I think looking at the two teams, Pathos have done really well to get here, haven't they? I do think Olympiacos, though, home as well, used to the European competitions. I think it'd be fairly straightforward. I'm not going to go too comfortable for Olympiacos, but comfortable enough for them with a nice 2-0 victory at their home ground. Which leads us nicely onto Slavia Prague versus Bodo Glimt. Now, two teams who have finished top two in their leagues for at least the last 5 years now. I mean, Slavia Prague more so. I think it's been like 9 years that they've been in the top two, so it just goes to show how dominant they've been in their league. No Champions League, though, in 5 years for Slavia, and they'll be very much up for this, won't they, with a great atmosphere, as there always are. Get the ultras there, the atmosphere is just going to be absolutely buzzing. Bodo getting to the semi-final of the Europa League last season, only losing to Spurs, and they did put up a relatively good fight. They did lose comfortably on aggregate to Spurs, didn't they, in the end? But to get to the semi-final of the Europa League for Bodo Glimt is a phenomenal effort. So for me, I feel like this could be quite a tight affair, and I believe this could be a draw. So I'm gonna bottle it slightly. I'm gonna go straight down the middle here because Slavia Prague, I think they've just been out of the competition for a little bit. Bodo will still have the tails up from last season. I think they'll be going to look here and just trying to get a win under the belt. Home advantage, I think draw makes sense. 1-1. Ajax versus Inter Milan. Now, Ajax have been hit and miss, haven't they, over the last 3 years? Not been in the Champions League for a couple of years now. It's been a tough start for Christian Chivu, and Inter Milan in the league losing 2 out of 3 games so far. Inter usually solid, but have conceded 6 in the last 2, and it was said that the manager there, Chivu, was very angry after the 4-3 loss at Juventus. So yeah, I mean, look, Ajax, a bit torn here with Ajax. Maybe grabbing a draw, maybe even Inter getting back to winning ways with a narrow 1 goal. My gut here says, based on form and it being Ajax, that this could be a draw at the Johan Cruyff Arena. So I'm going to split this once more. I'm going to go 1-1. Bayern versus Chelsea. Now, Bayern Munich have a lot of firepower, scoring 3, 5 and 6 goals in each of the first 3 matches. Chelsea have had to get up to speed due to lack of friendlies and due to the Club World Cup. The draw against Brentford recently wasn't, and they weren't really convinced against Fulham. I think Bayern here at home will put 3 past Chelsea, and maybe a consolation goal for Chelsea. I mean, look at Chelsea. I think they're inexperienced still. Don't have the world-class talent in defence like the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, for example. I think they are susceptible to a few goals, as we've already seen. And, I mean, conceding 2 against Brentford as well. I just think Bayern might steamroll them a little bit here. So I'm going to go 3 goals to Bayern, 1 goal to Chelsea. Liverpool versus Atletico Madrid. Now, Liverpool are yet to hit the heights expected of them now. The champions of England out there, been splashing the cash in the market. You think if you're champions and splashing that much cash, they'd be relatively comfortable, wouldn't they? Got over the line just against Burnley with a 1-0 victory thanks to a Hannibal handball, who just instantly knew it was handball, didn't they? Giving Salah's first goal of the season. On the flip side, Atletico seem to get Liverpool quite frequently, don't they, in Europe, and haven't started too strongly, but did get a good win over a good team, Villarreal. So that might give them a little bit of a boost. Now, Atletico, as we know, under Diego Simeone, will be organised, hard to break down, much like Burnley, but with better players. It's a real tough call, this game, for me. I'm tempted to go draw on this one, but I think Liverpool may just get over the line with yet another 1-0 victory. PSG, Atalanta. PSG were dominant last season, only losing out to Chelsea in the final of the Club World Cup. And as expected right now in League One, they are 4 wins out of 4. Atalanta, who I believe to score a lot and concede a fair few. I mean, they're a bit more tight at the back last season. I think they will need to hope PSG are having a rare off night, though. This will be fairly similar to maybe Bayern Munich, Chelsea, in that I'm going to say here PSG will score a few. You've got the likes of Dembele as well, who may even win the Ballon d'Or yet. So for me, I think PSG will score 3. Atlanta, who are good at, can score a goal themselves, I think they will do. I don't think PSG will keep a clean sheet, so I'm going to give them a consolation goal to make it 3-1 on the night to PSG. Club Brugge versus Monaco. Now, Club Brugge not won the league since 2021, surprisingly, and a difficult start to their league with only 3 wins and 2 losses. So, yeah, I mean, look, they comfortably thrashed Rangers 9-1 in aggregate, didn't they? I mean, Rangers have been a little bit iffy, haven't they, so far under Russell Martin, so let's not talk about that one too much. And how much can you take from that? Look, Club Brugge last season lost to Villa in the last 16, only just losing, though. It was a very tight game from what I remember. I remember watching it live. Monaco will be wanting to get to the knockout rounds here. I think they want to do a little bit better than what they did last season, so I think once more it's going to be a tough goal. Do think the big goals here. I think when you do see Bruges and Monaco, 2 teams that generally are quite attacking, I'm going to go down the middle once more. I'm going to go 2 goals to Bruges and 2 goals to Monaco. Copenhagen versus Leverkusen. Now, Copenhagen, second in Danish league, and lost to Chelsea in the Conference League 3-1 in aggregate after a pretty good, I would say maybe even a flattering scoreline. I think it was a little bit tighter than 3-1. I think 2-1 would have been maybe a more realistic scoreline for how they performed over those 2 legs. This season it was a tough start for Leverkusen too, after parting ways with Ten Hag, but got a nice victory, didn't they, with a 3-1 win over Frankfurt. So it looks like perhaps they're getting back to old ways there under Kasper Hjulmand, I believe it's pronounced. So yeah, look, it won't be an overly straightforward victory. I do think they'll get over the line here. I think it'd be a narrow 1-0 for Leverkusen with the manager bounce 2. Don't be surprised if there's more goals. That's just my gut feeling on this one. Frankfurt versus Galatasaray. So Frankfurt have been fairly solid in European competitions in the past few seasons. I've obviously seen them win the Europa League, which is a bit out of the blue at the time. Galatasaray, as you'd imagine, are dominant in their respective league. I mean, look, even Jose Mourinho's been sacked, so it just shows how well they're doing. Getting 90-odd points and still securing the victory over Fenerbahce, who generally around the 90-point mark too. So it just shows how dominant they are in the league. I think here, though, Galatasaray have goals in them. Frankfurt at home do score a few goals in European competitions. I'm tempted to go with a draw, like I said, so I'm going to go 2-2. Manchester City versus Napoli. So Man City, of course, have come off a good win against their rivals Manchester United. Pep's still looking for the squad to be consistent, of course. De Bruyne, Højlund and McTominay of Napoli might all three of them might be itching to do well here. So yeah, look, Højlund's got his first goal, and De Bruyne with two already. Scott McTominay also has one under his belt. So from a midfield perspective, you'd be expecting to see them drive forward a little bit here. Conte keeps his sides organised, but can see City scoring a couple here. This is quite a tough one to call, if I'm being completely honest. I do think Man City will get over the line just. Napoli probably get on the score sheet, whether probably through Scott McTominay or somebody like that anyway, whether it's McTominay or Højlund. I think maybe not Højlund. I'm going to go McTominay to score here. I think it'd be 2-1 Manchester City at the Etihad. Bringing us on to what I think is going to be game of the week here, and a really great game to watch. Newcastle versus Barcelona. So Yamal could miss this through injury after there was a lot of painkiller controversy whilst he was on international duty with Spain. So if you didn't know, he wasn't training with Spain, but he was pumped a load of painkillers to get through the matches. And so, so Barcelona, as you can imagine, really not pleased with how he was managed through his injury there. So he may be a miss or maybe on the bench for the beginning of the match. Newcastle struggled for goals the last couple of games, but home crowd, first Champions League game again at St James's Park. Barcelona themselves haven't looked convincing away from home so far, with a draw and a narrow 3-2 victory. Yes, they did just absolutely annihilate Valencia 6-0 at home. Maybe that will give them a confidence boost. Oh, it is a bit of a tough one. I mean, for me, you could see, draw or Barcelona here, in my opinion. I'm going to be generous to the tune. I'm going to go 2-2. I'm going to say they will get 2 goals because Barcelona defensively haven't looked completely solid as of yet. I think the home crowd, it could be maybe not hostile, but I think it will definitely get Newcastle going. So 2-2 is my final word on that one. Bringing us on to our final fixture between Sporting Lisbon versus Kairat. So Sporting Lisbon still won the league last year without Amorim. Lost to Porto though in a title clash a couple of weeks ago, just before the internationals. Kairat from Kazakhstan, the Kazakhstani league, have almost completed their season now. I mean, right now, the 20th in the Champions League, so they're in a playoff spot. But of course, there've been no games, so can't look at that, can we? But yeah, look, Kairat beat Celtic on penalties. It was 0-0 in both legs, so it wasn't a goal-scoring affair at all. And then you've got Sporting Lisbon at the moment, who have Luis Suarez up front. Not the Luis Suarez, but the Colombian one. So far he's scored 3 goals, got 2 assists so far, and can see him scoring again here. I think to end here, it will be a comfortable night for Sporting Lisbon with a 3-0 victory. So clean sheet, Sporting to 0. If you're going to put a bet on, that would be my prediction, and over 2.5 goals. So fantastic stuff there for the first game week for the Champions League. Thanks again, everybody, for watching. Please like, subscribe, put your comment below. It does mean a lot. And we'll see you in the next one, which will be the Prem Predictions video, which will be out just after this one, I imagine. Until then, have a great day, and bye for now.